Hi, my name is Guillaume, and I'm a Level 2 Correctional Officer at Cowansville Institution.
Cowansville Institution, a medium security facility, is located in Cowansville, Quebec, about 100 kilometers east of Montreal. It has the capacity to house just under 600 inmates. Today we follow Guillaume Favreau on his shift. He is in his 12th year as a correctional officer, currently a CXII. He is also a member of the emergency response team and is the regional grievance coordinator for the Quebec region.
Merci.
The shift starts off with a briefing where the officers meet with the correctional manager to get updated on recent events and things to watch out for.
Then during another round, the officers in cell block 9 seized a slasher in cell. And finally on Saturday, in cell block 8, 1.5 liters of brew was found in cell. Sunday, there was nothing to report.
With the briefing complete, Guillaume sets out to start his day. We head over to the kitchen and cafeteria where inmates are having their meal. Some inmates also work in the kitchen, preparing and serving meals.
Not every inmate can have a job like that because they'll use knives, materials, which are usually considered contraband in institutions. The inmates undergo a security screening process to ensure that it is done safely. All the observations we make here, it's important to write them down in an SOR, and we can use that afterwards.
Guillaume takes us for a ride in a perimeter vehicle. Perimeter vehicles are used by officers for patrols and security around institutions.
Now we're on a mobile patrol. We're circling the penitentiary. We do this because it's important to look around, both inside and out. There's still contraband being introduced currently. People come and throw contraband over the fence or in several other ways. The patrol officers are responsible for monitoring the surroundings and also for preventing escapes.
While on patrol, an alarm goes off.
Now we have a fence alarm going off. It could be because of the elements, animals setting it off, or whatever. We always have to consider an alarm like an escape attempt. We have false alarms. It's normal. It's okay. We always have to take them seriously and go and check. Let's go to the tower and I'll show it to you. The work of the officers in the tower is to watch the inmates, but also the surroundings. You see, we have a panoramic view from here. Contraband entry is the real issue here at the moment, and for several reasons. So the officer tasked with this post must monitor the inside and the outside of the penitentiary. When we're on patrol on the perimeter of the institution, there will often be motion sensing alarms, either between the fences or at the fences. The patrol officers are responsible for checking what's happening at that moment. It could be the elements, animals, or it can be an inmate who touched the fence to go and get a package. So when it goes off, the patrol officer has to go and check it out. Obviously, the alarm goes off often, and sometimes we may believe that it's nothing, but we have to consider each alarm like an attempted escape. It's very important. The bread and butter of correctional officers' work, it's working in the cell blocks, going on security patrols, and doing searches and seizures. We're going to do that after dinner. That's the main part of the job. That's also where we're constantly in contact with the inmates. That's where they spend most of their time. So I would say that's also the most difficult part of the job.
During the rounds, Guillaume is alerted to possible drug-related activity.
I'm going to ask you to put your hands up on the wall. You got this? Is there something on you that could prick or injure us? Oscar 39 Alpha to Oscar 12? Yes, I'm asking for you to authorize a cell search based on reasonable grounds. The inmate was handling drugs. 39 Alpha, understood, over. Is there something in there that could prick or injure me? I'll go and search the cell, you can come in. When we entered, you saw the inmate. Something's burning. He's definitely using. There's hash here that he's cutting. You can see that it's not his first time. He puts hash on this, and he takes his drugs. So now what we're going to do is extinguish it and search his cell and seize the paraphernalia. When we search a cell, it's important to keep an open mind. Now we have the authorization to search the cell. We know there are drugs here, but nothing tells us that there aren't more somewhere else. The reason for the search is to gain entry into the cell, so we take the opportunity to conduct a thorough search to be sure there's nothing else. While I'm searching, my colleague's holding watch at the entrance, the cell door, so that we don't get locked in. And he'll manage the happy people because it's obvious we're causing issues at the moment. Now we've just completed a seizure, which will cost the inmate money. They'll try to intimidate us a bit to ensure we don't come back too often. Surely, if I come back and I'm constantly under pressure, according to them, I may come back less often. However, according to CSC's mission, my goal is to help them become law-abiding citizens. If you're using drugs here in the institution, which is prohibited, you're off to a pretty bad start. He had hidden something else. So this right here is a toker, or what they call a toker. So when the drugs burn, he's going to use the toker like a pipe to inhale. This paraphernalia is another item of contraband. Now, as the result of my search, I seize drug paraphernalia. Here, I seize drugs, which seems to me to be hash or hashish. We'll have it analyzed, and we'll seize it and send it all to the security intelligence officers, who will analyze the substance. Then the inmate will be reported. There will be SORs, a seizure report, an offense report, and a search report. Then the matter will go before the minor court or the major court based on the seizure, and disciplinary measures will be taken afterwards. Drugs are ever present in our institutions because of drones. What ends up happening is that those inmates end up smoking, they use substances. I mean, they're still in their offending cycle. It creates debts, it creates mental health issues, it goes hand in hand with medication. Sometimes they can sell their medication prescribed for their mental health issues to purchase this, but it turns out they need that medication. This brings on a lot of problems. In addition to the secondhand smoke, it exacerbates the pressure on correctional officers who are doing their job. Drugs are more ubiquitous than ever. So the next step is to bring the forms to the correctional manager, who will in turn ensure that everything is compliant. He'll take ownership, and now I'm finished with the seizure.
C'est bon?
Excellent. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Oscar 39, Alpha au MCCP, vérification.
MCCP compris. 5 et 35 Alpha.
So what we're going to do is we're going to isolate the sector here. So stop, please. So we're going to close this here. So follow me. We'll return the inmates to their cell block. We're going to empty out the sector so that we can work safely. The drone has been detected, sector activity. All the inmates that are here, they're going to be searched before exiting. So what we do is we work to return the inmates. The drone has been detected, sector activity, but there's nothing to tell me that it didn't drop elsewhere. That's why the inmates who enter the cell blocks are searched before they enter. So let's proceed step by step. We're going to go head to the fence over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to head to the cell block, we're going to conduct a count, and we'll lock up the inmates. My colleagues, what they're doing is they're going to finish the searches, and they're going to search the areas to see if a package was left on the ground. Often, since we conduct searches, inmates will leave the package on the ground to not be caught with it here at the gate. So we're going to let them finish here, and we'll head back to the cell block. Let's close the doors. That's good. The most memorable incidents, unfortunately, are often the most catastrophic. These are inmates who attack one another with edged weapons. When we intervene, we have to stop the assault, but then we have to take care of the wounded. Manage the aggressor, handcuff him and all that, search him appropriately, isolate him, and take him elsewhere. At that time, my mandate during that incident was to take care of the victim. The victim was really messed up. We were 3 correctional officers on this individual, and 6 hands weren't enough to plug all the holes. These are events that can be traumatic, but they're events that happen in correctional settings for whatever reason. Whether it's gangs, drugs, debts, control, or just tension. Being locked up all the time here, it creates tension. Add to that, we're putting together a lot of people who have criminal tendencies, and they have social problems in that they don't know how to resolve conflict through their words. They live by a different code, different ways of doing things than we do. That event was quite traumatic. It was a great intervention because there were several partners involved, including health services, paramedics, local health services. I mean, we have a department, an in-house hospital. We did what we could. The idea isn't always to be perfect, it's to do our best. But with the stress, the blood, the screaming, things move pretty quickly. It's not an easy job. It's not always easy to make the right decisions, but what's important is to act. And intention is a big part of it. What happens afterwards is that you have to go back to those places, and you remember the smell of blood, the flashbacks. That's why it's important, when events like this happen, if you feel that you need counseling, to talk, to vent, you can't sustain a career by holding on to all the security incidents that happen here, because you're definitely not going to make it to the end. You have to find ways to ease the mental burden.
Back up, come with me, run.
The correctional officers intervened in a cell block due to a code white, which means an altercation between two inmates. The inmates are handcuffed, and we're going to lock them up in their cells. Afterwards, correctional managers will shed light on the situation. When we do that, we will, following authorization, conduct a strip search of the inmates to ensure that they don't have any weapons on their person. They'll probably ask that the area be searched, just to be sure. Sometimes they use weapons to carry out their assault and throw them afterward. We look at the cameras to conduct searches. As you can see here, the area is isolated so that we can work safely. Are you doing the search? We're going to move, because the officers are going to conduct a strip search, and we're going to give them some privacy. So, following the altercation, the correctional officers conducted a strip search of the inmate, and we see here they seized a plug. That's what we call it in our line of work. You can see, according to the package, that it seems to be tobacco. It'll be analyzed by security officers. Once again, clearly, this is the type of contraband that enters via drones. So we see the consequences of these drones. There was an altercation between inmates. There could have been injuries. Someone will probably incur debts because of this. The correctional officers had to intervene. It's part of our job. We're trained for it. We're ready for it. But clearly, contraband introduced via drones has amplified the problem at the institution exponentially.
A transport vehicle arrives with inmates that will be serving their time here. Inmates follow a correctional plan that is developed outlining treatment and recommendations for rehabilitation. During intake, the inmates are processed and issued standard institutional clothing, as well as basic essentials, before they head to their assigned cells to begin their sentence.
My biggest challenge when interacting with inmates is that you can't take anything personally. It's the uniform, it's the title, it's the image we project. So we have to be able to delineate between our work selves and ourselves as people. When there's a moment of tension between inmates, it's important to keep calm, to take a breath, and rely on our colleagues. The job is about teamwork. You don't want to take it all alone. When you've had a rough day, take the time to discuss it, to vent. A good tip to help an inmate de-escalate emotionally is often to put yourself in their place. Not to minimize their actions, but to find the right words to help them verbalize their emotions. Sometimes they'll feel better understood, and later on, they'll be more receptive to your advice and your requests.
Oscar 39 Alpha au MCCP, je quitte les ondes. Merci. Bonne soirée.
It's not a normal job. What we see, what we experience, what we manage, these aren't events that are normal in society. A career with the Correctional Service is a marathon, not a sprint. You can't run a marathon with heavy emotional baggage on your back. Take care. Have a good night. I love being a correctional officer because no day is 100% the same as the day before it. We're always on the lookout. We talk to each other, but there can be a fight on the left and a medical problem on the right. You never know what's around the corner.